go ahead and get started. I'll do a quick intro. That's my little avatar person there. Like I said, my name is Joshua Scoggin. I'm part of the higher ed team. I'm a senior account executive. I've been working here with Kahoot for a few years now. It's been a fantastic experience, and I get to travel all over North America, all over Europe as well. I get to talk to different instructors and get to talk to different institutions about how they utilize Kahoot, what they want out of Kahoot, and what's like their best and new creative ways to engage their audiences on the platform. Engagement of audiences and students is probably the number one topic that I get to speak to instructors about and professors about and all sorts of different orgs. So it's something I'm super passionate about, and I'm really excited to show y'all how we can do this with the Kahoot platform, especially powered with some of our new AI tools that just came out here. So without further ado, I am going to show you the overview of the webinar of what we'll be looking at today. So to start off with, we are going to do an outline of specific features that will be discussed on today's demonstration. We'll be doing a quick demo of the EDU platform with AI capabilities. So we'll actually jump in live itself and get to try out some cool things and show off some little bits and pieces. So I'm really excited to get your feedback on that. Then we'll do a quick Kahoot created with some AI assistance with your feedback. So we'll get to actually see a Kahoot that we've actually made with some AI assistance, and we'd love to get some feedback in terms of a few question types we have there. And then finally, we'll have actually some Q&A dedicated time at the end. So for the people that have joined us here so far, you might see a Q&A button, part of this webinar series. Go ahead, if you have any questions throughout the session, please launch it there in the Q&A. We have some dedicated moderators that are a part of the session that'll be answering questions within the chat itself. So really exciting. They'll be more than happy to help you. But at the end, we will pick out a few questions to go over and then answer directly there during that period of time. So perfect. So I will go and continue, and let's talk about some of the awesome features we'll be looking at today. It's a part of the EDU suite. In particularly, the big, I would say, cheese that a lot of my instructors and orgs that I work with is our AI question generator and assistant tool. It's a super, super fantastic topic, probably one of the hot key topics that come up when I go to different organizations and different spotlights. So a little bit more about this tool. We'll be actually looking at how to generate questions based on various topics that we supply in our search engine. That's one way on how it's addressed. The other one is when we upload our own PDF and slides directly to scan and generate questions based on your material. So if you have any direct presentations or anything that you've created previously, you can actually upload those directly and give it some more feedback on where you want it to pull and generate these supplemental question types. So super interested to talk about that. And then the other little cherry on top is you have the ability to further edit prompted AI generated questions to specifically fit your needs or exercise for the presentation. So a lot of really cool bits there to make it exactly the way you want it to. So really excited to dive a little bit deeper into that. We'll also be talking about slide generation and imports. I get asked a lot of the time, like, how do you suggest we give presentations, or maybe some tips and ideas? Honestly, I do have a lot of instructors that like various methods in terms of when they want to give Kahoots a part of their presentation or make the presentations more engaging. I would say one side of the coin is, hey, you can take your slides, you can actually upload them directly into the Kahoot itself. So if you want your students and your participants to go through your presentation and then at certain points, add different polling, different feedback, different assessment-based questions, just like test knowledge and go from there. It's super easy to do. You can upload those directly without having to duplicate your work. And at the same time, we also have an integration with PowerPoint. So if you want to pull up on PowerPoint and have the Kahoot launch there, you can absolutely do so. And you can add different slides manually as well. So a few different options, but yeah, we'll talk about generating slides, adding various items. There is adding videos to your presentation with timestamps for specific stopping points. We'll talk about uploading your own decks, kind of like what I mentioned, so you don't duplicate anything. And then there is a PowerPoint integration if anyone's curious about that as well. I know we are working on a few other aspects of integrations, but PowerPoint's the one we have available currently. And then lastly, we'll talk about some of our feedback subjective question types. I get asked a lot about like, hey, I know that with Kahoot, we have a few of these like multiple choice, true, false, more objective question types, but I love getting to show our new, more objective question types as well to our organizations and institutions. We get a lot of positive feedback from that, whether it be our polling, our other word cloud, our QuickTime stuff, just to get that response, to get those discussions going. So I think if you're wanting more of constructive responses from your audience, those are a direct way to get that better engagement on these presentations. And I highly recommend the use of these when you're creating these actual Kahoot activities. So I will go to the last bit. A few question types just to say that we will highlight today. Drop pin is a question type, allowing the students to actually put their answers on a graph chart or image that you supply them. So that's a whole lot of fun. There's also a new pin drop version with points. I will show that briefly as well. Word cloud will go over, like taking a snapshot of everyone's thoughts. Our open-ended question types, so more like quantitative, longer feedback answers from students where they can even highlight a theme or motif. And then brainstorm is super popular. That's like voting on different ideas and proposing different concepts. So we'll see these all live in real time, but I do like to kind of drop what exactly these are before we get into them. Perfect. Now, if that's it, I will go ahead and stop sharing. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and jump right into the creator. So let me go ahead and pull this up and I will share my screen. Okay. Excellent. So you should see my home dashboard here. Perfect. Want to make sure that's sharing correctly. Awesome. It's my home page here. You see my little dude, my icon at Kahoot University. I love my KU. So when I go to the dashboard, we usually start with the creator itself. So we'll click in here. We'll go to a brand new Kahoot that we're going to create, and it's going to give a few various options here. Obviously, we're keying on the AI question generator and the PDF import as well. There are a few templates to use, but I am going to start with a blank canvas. That's typically how I like to show off all the new bells and whistles within our actual creator itself. You might see to the right here a few different themings and things like that. I get asked about these in my presentations. We do have a lot of professional, seasonal, festive, event themes that you can do here, but a big feedback I get for different presentations and different orgs that I work with is actually doing your own custom theming. With the EDU platform, you can actually do your own logos, your own colors, make it exactly the way you're wanting it, and save it exactly, what for different events you want to do. Highly recommend checking that out. I have a lot of instructors that have a lot of fun with these, so I do like to kind of show that to make maybe some presentations or some events a little bit more creative depending on the material that you'll be going over. So I definitely love those. I am going to leave that, and then we'll go right into it with the AI question generator. Now, remember, if you do have any questions, remember to go to the Q&A section. We'll be taking a look at those later, and then we also have some moderators there that'll be able to help you out as well. So speaking about the AI question generators, I get asked a lot about, hey, I have all this topics and themes and content we got to go over, but it's hard to find time to build certain Kahoots. And is there a way how we can maybe do this more efficiently? And absolutely, and that's kind of where these other pieces come in. Before the question generator, I do like to show off, we do have a public question bank online that pulls from all of our public Kahoots that are posted online. So if you're curious on maybe what other instructors or orgs have done with similar themes, you can go to our Discover page or question bank to find out some specific areas. I would say that's something that's not as known, but I do recommend taking a look at that as well in particular. Now, going on to the bread and butter of things, the question generator. So this one's super, super exciting. I get to show all new instructors about these, and we'll be focusing on the topic or theme one in particular. So it'll give you some different examples, like plant and animal cells is one thing I wanted to say, but you basically put in your phrasing here, and then it'll generate some subjective question types for you to take a look at further. I have also confirmed that if you're wanting questions in different languages and answers, if you change the actual language of the platform that you're on and are using that language, it'll actually generate questions in that native language as well. So I have got questions on that. I did want to mention that before we hop in. But let's say I'm wanting some supplemental question types to see what's generated about, it's offered plant cells a few times, so I'm going to put plant cells. So essentially here, it's going to be opening and generating a few other bits and pieces here, different bits of material. I can kind of scroll through these, see what I like. So it has a slider question here. So that might be a new question type for some of y'all, which is really cool. There's just a slide that has a discussion point, a true, false. It has our different answer options here. What is the powerhouse of the cell? They have different options. So it generates right and incorrect answer types as well, and also has like a little image that comes along with it, which is super, super helpful to kind of put these pieces together. But you can look at these like, okay, I really like this slide. I like this true false question. Gotta have the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell on here. I like this quiz as well. So basically you get to just go here, pick and choose. If there's a few you like, you can add that and it'll come directly into the actual Kahoot that you're creating. Now, the thing with the topic of the Kahoots is obviously you can refresh, maybe change up your question type or topic, edit that a little bit, adjust it accordingly. But with these questions that you're actually putting here on the right-hand side, it comes up with different answer types and things like that. But you don't have to you're not stagnant in terms of how these are set up. So let's say you like this true false question. Maybe you don't like the photo. Maybe you want to do a different photo instead and kind of have that adjustment. Maybe you don't even like the actual question type itself. Maybe instead of a quiz type question, you're like, hey, I like where the AI generator got me, but I actually want to make some edits to kind of make this more particular into the style or feedback that I want to give. So instead of quiz, you can go to type answer and boom, right here, I'll put mitochondria here for you to use instead. There are some other answer types that it'll add here. I'm not going to allow any other answer types. So essentially changing up the whole question type, but we got here with an answer and a question already through the AI question generator without having to do anything else additionally. So it is a time saver. I really love it. If you're looking for quick fixes on some supplemental content and generating different topics of themes that you're wanting to go with your students or participants on, that's a really good place to start. I highly recommend that. Now, that version is just going to be the AI question generator on the topic side, but there's also a version that goes, hey, if you have any files, PDFs, or documents in your own accord that you want to upload directly to the system, you can absolutely do that as well. So from the upload file, I'm going to go here. I'll go to my webinar resources, and I actually have a PDF over plant cell walls that I want to add directly. So here's my PDF. It's got over some bits and info, little bits here and there. I can have it go over everything, but I'm actually going to give it a particular range. I'm going to say, hey, let's do 2 through 5 pages. So these particular pages, I wanted to pull questions from. So I'm going to click continue. And what it's going to do is going to scan the document in particular, see what content is there within those actual pages itself, and then generate question types based on that information. So what is the primary cell wall composed of? It has the different bits here that I pulled from, which is a little bit different than the topic I had before. What is the major load-bearing carbohydrate component of a cell wall? It has the different options. And again, let's say I like this stuff. This is helping me put in my slides directly into Kahoot at a much faster pace, which at the end of the day, we want to make it more efficient, help you out, save time. This is where you can get more engagement, but at the same time, put some time back in your day. So, but with these Kahoots, you say, hey, I really like these, but again, I want to make specific changes. Maybe I like the image here, but I want it to reveal, slowly over time. Maybe I want to add a different time limit, or maybe I don't want this to be a quiz at all for points. Maybe I just want it to be subjective. Maybe just some getting feedback or getting, maybe where the rest of my class's heads at or sessions heads at essentially. So again, a lot of different options here. It's, again, just a way to put content directly into the Kahoot platform at a much more efficient pace with some assistance within our AI tool. So I really like it. I've gotten great feedback so far. We're looking to make updates to this all the time. So any feedback y'all can give is fantastic. But again, this has been a really hot topic with my instructors. It's something they've really enjoyed learning and getting to actually use in practice. So again, this is part of the EEU subscription type. So if you're curious about checking that out further, you can just go online and check those license types out or reach out to us. We're more than happy to get you access. And then in terms of the AI question generator, I think that's about both sections. Again, if you have questions on these, please put them in the QA where we have the moderators to be able to answer anything you have there. I am going to go into our slide generation portion. So regarding the presentations, I get asked a lot when it comes to like adding questions, like question. They want to make it maybe put in some burst of information essentially. So, because usually when we give out presentations or we have slides, I usually don't recommend, if you want information in there, to have question, or maybe, having some information or bits that reinforce certain ideas, and you can have that break up some of the patterns or repetition there. So when in terms of slides, if you want to input a slide, I recommend putting in some bits of information. So these are just some generic slide templates that we have here. So if there was one about bullet points and I wanted to add some key topics, I'm just going to type in some colors here, just so you can see that. And then we'll talk about maybe flags. Again, some random words, key phrases here. And then you can say, okay, I'm going to bring this all the way to the top. I like this section. And then we'll go from this onto my slides about plant cells. So maybe this should be about plant cells. But you have the options to generate content via that way. So you can add as many slides as you like. You can kind of generate that content and add bits and portions here as you go along with your presentation. The other bit I like to talk about is we get asked a lot about videos. I usually recommend our add slide. It's the big media one here. You can actually insert media and put bring up the YouTube video or clip there directly or in Vimeo, and then you can timestamp exactly where you want it to pull from and then how you have that content correlate with the rest of your material. So you can maybe do a short video clip, go right into a slide, and then have like a quick question to reinforce these ideas. So again, this is very malleable. It's very, I would say, flexible in terms of how you want to have that set up, but adding content here, super easy. And if you want to have just some bits of info to reinforce ideas, I really, really encourage that with the slide portion. But that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin, which is probably the biggest kicker with my instructors, is going to be the import slide button. That's everyone's favorite one. So if you have slides, you have PDFs, PowerPoints and things like that, you want to upload directly that you've already done for chapter reviews or different session overviews, this is the place where you can actually put those directly into the Kahoot itself. So I'm going to upload a file of mine. I'm going to go back to the resource page I hear. This is actually a version of the content that I was doing earlier for another webinar. But if I want to go ahead and import my slides directly so I don't have to either copy and paste them or go back and forth between a different PowerPoint or a different session itself, if you go to the here, so I already have my slides right here. So I can pull and drag these across. And again, let's say I'm right here. We talked about we talked about different question types we have here. And then I want to go ahead and add another question. Maybe it's a type answer. Maybe it's a multi-select, double points. It's going to be a full minute. And then I can say, okay, cool. Please select all the question types that I talked about in the last slide. And maybe it could be drop pin and word cloud and brainstorm, for example. So essentially, we can just reinforce different ideas. But you don't have to duplicate any work or content. You can pull that here instead. And again, I have instructors with different preferences. I have some that like to be on the Kahoot and actually have everything on one version. You can have your presentation, go to the Kahoot, or import a Kahoot into your PowerPoint. Again, either way works. I prefer to upload my slides directly so I can stay kind of in one location and I can get different bits of info and maybe some feedback while I'm actually going through the slides. So I prefer it that way, and I've get some great feedback and responses from instructors with that method. But whatever works best for you in your class and your sessions is what works best. So everyone has their own taste, but this method definitely just saves a lot of time if you're looking to add slides or have that content in one centralized location. Perfect. In terms of slides, I think that's about it. I do want to go over a few other bits that we wanted to mention. So obviously, a lot of people are familiar with our objective question types. I talked about a few of these. We do have a brand new one I like to just mention while we're on the webinar anyways. It's called pin answer. It's super, super neat. So essentially, much like drop pin, let's say I had an image here that I want to pull up. There's a specific image I like of this doggo we have here. So essentially, I can ask my students or participants to select images or areas on an image directly, where we can actually now correlate that with points. So it could be right or wrong. You can actually make it more objective. So if I asked, in this case, it could be a map, a body graph, a diagram, a chart. I've seen this done. A lot of my requests from this come from like medical fields as well. And then I've also had this done with like equations. So a lot of, again, creative ways I've seen instructors do things like this. But if I wanted to say, hey, I want you guys to select the paws on this dog, I can actually have them go on the image itself and put their cursor there, and all that's going to be actually recorded. And then you can move in terms of how you want to have this done and scaled. So this is more of a fun example, but there can be done a lot of variable, I would say, outcomes you can have with this if you have other graphs, images, things you want results from. The pin answer is a really fun question type, one I've been talking about for a while, but it's brand new, so I definitely want to show it off. But in terms of our other objective types, just to make presentations more engaging and getting more direct feedback while you're going through your slides and while you're having this back and forth and dialogue, I would say most people are familiar with the poll. Polling is an option here. You can say just like a quick icebreaker, like, how are you feeling today? So that's just a quick answer. You can even have people do multi-select, because maybe more than one feelings in a day. But one fun thing is you can do multi-select or do more than just 4 answer options. Other things that people don't know is you can go, hey, I'm doing okay. But a lot of people don't maybe realize we can actually answer with like GIFs or images as well. So if you're wanting just like a quick icebreaker to start a session or doing some orientation, you can also have like little images like that. That's also a lot of fun, a quick way to get, I think, more involved and get some like, I would say, more energetic responses and things like that to maybe start a session. So I've gotten some good feedback on that, but that's something with polling maybe not everyone is quite familiar with. But taking a look at other ones, we'll actually get a chance to use some of these in the Kahoot that we'll do later. So really excited to do that. But NPS scale and scale is basically getting some direct feedback on slides of like, hey, like how confident were you in the material we just covered? Like, do you think you'll be able to master this before our next exam? Or is there something like 1 to 10? How do you feel about this subject? Or just getting some like variable, I would say, direct feedback in terms of different areas that you're covering. So it could be a scale scale of 1 to 5. You can make a custom scale, put it to whatever numbers you like. And then you can even do like agree, disagree, difficult, easy, unlikely, likely, or even like do your own custom field. So if you like to have maybe some more specified fields on how you want to get feedback from your students or participants, this is also a good way to do that. So I really enjoy this one. This one's a really great addition. So I like to show that off as well. A few of the other ones, we looked at drop pin. Drop pin's a lot like pin answer, but there's no right or wrong. It's just getting some direct feedback from students. Again, that's something you can have in between your slides while you're going through it. And then the last few you maybe be familiar with. We do like to cover these as well. Word cloud you've probably seen before. It's going to be like a collage of everyone's thoughts and ideas. So if I ask, hey, what's everyone's favorite flavor of ice cream? The more times the word's typed, the larger it is on the screen. So I prefer a question like this if we're starting a new topic or we're breaking into a new chapter and I want to get anyone's maybe key thoughts or ideas of, what is your opinion of X, or maybe what comes to mind when you think of blank. Word cloud's a really good way to see a collage and see where everyone's kind of thoughts and ideas are at that point. So really good way to start a session. I like word cloud. That's gotten some really good feedback there. Open-ended is a little bit different. I like to explain this one as our more longer, constructive. We'll actually go through this on the Kahoot also, but more in-depth answer option for students or participants. So if you're wanting something up to, I think it's like 200 characters back from your students, and they can even highlight a theme or motif of what they're submitting back to you. This is a good way, I think, at the end of sessions, or maybe something if you're wanting to break down on the reports post-session, a good way to get that feedback from your students in real time. So I really appreciate the open ending. Also, a really good thing to consider, all Kahoots can also be played asynchronously. So if you want your students to do this on their own accord, at their own pace, at home or wherever, that's another option as well. I like to talk to schools about that and other orgs that we consult with. And then lastly, brainstorm. I like to kind of show this as an example. This one makes more sense as like a preview, but for an example question, I usually ask, what do you need to live on the moon? So a silly example, but basically I can have my students submit different ideas and concepts, and you'll see on here that they'll actually add variable images of moons and things like that for us to add here. So essentially I can change the ideas that I want. So let's say I'm only going to ask for 2 ideas from my students. And essentially I will do a quick preview of this to give you a little glimpse of what maybe this looks like in real time. So I always have a lot of fun with it. So when you're going through the preview, your students will be answering here and there. They'll submitting different options, different answers to the question that you proposed to the class or the session. And so when these flip around, they won't actually mean anything. I believe these are just food groups. So it will be a little bit of nonsense. But essentially you go like, oh, okay, I really like these ideas. I really like these concepts. I can see where you were thinking of this. Like, I think actually these concepts go well together. And I think these are kind of the same vein I thought. So you can actually take various lists and other subjects that you want submissions from your students with and kind of put these in key areas in groups and maybe discuss further as a class or a session. A lot of really good discussions have come from this. I appreciate this in more group or larger settings are a lot of fun. And then this last part isn't necessarily required, but it is a fun one to kind of have as well. You can actually vote as a group on which maybe group of ideas best fits the motif. So that's a way you can put points into it, but that part is particularly optional. So you don't have to do it, but you can do it as well. So excellent. I will leave the preview, and then I think in terms of some icebreakers, some other direct feedbacks with slides, I would say those question types probably are going to round out what we wanted to discuss today. I am going to leave the Kahoot creator. Remember, there is a Q&A section on the actual webinar itself, so please go in there directly, and you can go in and add the questions, anything else from our moderators. And again, we'll also have time at the end to maybe dive into these a few bits in particular. So I will exit the Kahoot here that I created, and then I am going to start a live Kahoot here. So I'm going to have this hosted for y'all to join. Just some different bits of feedback we love from y'all, get some more information in terms of your thoughts, but I will go ahead and spin this up for y'all to join. Perfect. I will talk about the settings here in a second. I am going to make sure the settings I have are correct. Excellent. So they are good. And then we do have a lot of different game types and different game modes. If you haven't checked those out, definitely check them out. Team mode, we get a lot of feedback on. I love Lost Pyramid and Submarine Squad. Those are my favorites. So but with this session, I will do a classic mode just to show this off for y'all. Excellent. We'll get started. This will be open probably for the next minute. So if you'd like to join, you can. This is just a way for us to get some feedback from you all. But there is the game pin, and here is the QR code, if that helps y'all. While this open probably for the next 60 seconds, and then we'll go ahead and get started. There is going to be an option to join after we begin. So the game pin will be at the bottom. It's 7354843. If we could put the game pin in the chat, that would be great. If we can have that posted there for anyone else to join. And again, we'll just get started shortly and get some feedback from y'all. Maybe talk about some other bits you bring up in our Q&A. Other bits, I talked a little bit about settings, just to kind of give y'all some more information. I really appreciate some of these. I love show questions and answers. I do a Kahoot. Every time I do a Kahoot, it has to have this option because it gives the users the ability to see the actual question on the device itself, which I love. If you're wanting player ID for them to use like student codes, student IDs, or maybe their email address for the org, this is where you can also ask for them to put that inside the session itself. I like playing with characters, having a little bit more fun in my day, but you can turn those off, and this is where you can actually select your theming as well. So randomized answer order is also another great one. And then you can also personalize learning with them being able to review this in the app. And then there is a nickname generator if you want total anonymity, anonymity, and then two-step join for like in-person only. So a lot of great things there. I will go ahead and get out of settings, and then we will go ahead and get started. Again, the pin will be there for anyone else that wants to join post-session, but that'll be in the chat as well. So excellent. Let's go ahead and get started here and look at the first question for y'all. Awesome. So we're going to go ahead next because, again, this is just about our engaging lectures and presentations with power of AI. There's also a really cool React tool. If you haven't given like a thumbs up or a smiley face or a heart, you can actually turn reactions on and off. I love using those. Those are all recorded as well, but that's something that is an option with the Kahoot itself that you can turn on. So we'd love to hear back from y'all. What is your role in higher ed? If you're in higher ed, great. But we'd love to get some feedback in terms of maybe what sector you work in, maybe your profession, just to get a kind of scope in terms of where you work and where you reside within your organization. I get to travel a lot and talk to different higher ed orgs, so it's really interesting to get feedback from different departments that love Kahoot, and we get a lot of great feedback from. So that's been really exciting for me. I get to learn different like key areas that really get a kick out of Kahoot, but it's fantastic. Awesome. So we have a lot of different here: advisor, dean, nursing education. Talked a lot of nursing departments, IT, teacher, professor, instructor, number one. Also big nursing. I do talk to a lot of nursing schools, adults. Awesome, wonderful, great, thank y'all. But this is a little bit about our word cloud. Again, it's a really cool collage. You get a little different snippet, and then obviously all these answer types are recorded at the end of the session as well. Here's polling, and again, with polling, you can do a multi-select. We've talked about a lot of features today, so we'd love to hear about what maybe has excited you the most. We've talked about AI question generator, importing slides, delivering entire lectures using Kahoot with the import button, prompts more engaging like brainstorm, word cloud, open-ended, AI question generator is hot topic as always, and then the new pin answer question type, which is honestly one of my favorites. I love getting to click little doggo's pause, so those are a lot of fun. But love to hear back from you. What are y'all excited about? What kind of piques your interest? Maybe something you want to try if you haven't tried yet as well. Oh, I can't wait for this poll. Wonderful. Okay. This is a really interesting split. PDF-to-kahoot generator is a big one. AI question generator. Those have always been the key topics as well. But yeah, Littles, I would say very much well divided. So I'm glad a lot of these categories excite y'all. That's good to hear. That makes us happy here. Excellent. So let's go to the next slide here. We'll look at an open-ended question. What are maybe some other webinar topics you'd like us to see host session on? This one in particular was getting more engagement on a presentation or making engagements more enticing in terms of with AI help, assistance, or in terms of like importing slides and making this more efficient from y'all. The question type we're actually using for this is our open-ended question type. So you'll be able to submit a much longer answer, and then it'll give you the option to highlight maybe a theme or motif, or maybe the main subject of what you're wanting to discuss. So I did make this a little bit longer. I believe this was a full minute instead of, I usually do 30 seconds. Depends with different typing answers. I usually make them a little bit longer. I would say in terms of live Kahoots, I do get asked sometimes, how long can we make a Kahoot live, like per question? And I think the max is about 4 minutes to answer one question for a live session. Now, if you are wanting something asynchronous or no question limits, and they can take as much time as they like, the asynchronous versions of Kahoots that you sent out, the question timers can be completely turned off. So if that's something up your alley, I highly recommend that. Fantastic. We've got 50 answers. I would probably see if I can see a few of these yet. I might have to skip these because they're currently being submitted. Perfect. I think they're populating now. Let me get this rolled in. Yep, let's go ahead and show these. Just take a look at Kahoot this way. LMS integration, excellent. I can't wait to talk more about that. Interface with Canvas. That's another hot topic for us as well. Integrate with LMS D2L, LMS, one match textbook. Wonderful. Integrating slides with questions. Excellent, excellent. Offline engagement. These are fantastic subjects. Definitely take a look at this more with our team. I'm more than happy to do a lot more of these webinars as the year goes on, but I appreciate the feedback. This has been fantastic. I'm glad to get this response from y'all. Wonderful. And then we'll do a scale, just a quick feedback. This is our new scale question type. So, hey, how satisfied were you with the webinar? Do you think you learned